Hello, guys, and we want to talk about crypto that actually might pop very, very soon. And the interest in cryptos overall is down right now. You can tell by the search volumes and stuff, and I can definitely tell by both the live streams and the viewer accounts on my videos. The videos, like ever since the ETF came out, the views have basically cut in half, and the donations and the viewership on the live streams have gone way, way down. Specifically, the donations, people aren't making as much money now. I think everyone's just looking forward to the ETF like a big event, and then they're like, yeah, we're not that interested anymore, which is kind of dumb because the ETF honestly is the thing that like actually will start the ball rolling, but it will take a while for all the sells to flush out and for the buys to actually come up. But anyways, we have new charts and new graphs to actually see which coins might actually pop. And this is like the GitHub commits chart, like which cryptos are the most active in terms of development, both in the core commits and the ecosystem. Now, the core is like more if you want upgrades the entire ecosystem, and the ecosystem is like, how many projects are actually on the ecosystem. That's not like really the core team's job. That's like how many third party developers are actually there. Now, if we actually look at the yearly ones for commits, and I think these are basically core, Cardano is number one. So what that says is Cardano is actively developing their core system, doing upgrades, proposals, and stuff like that. But as you see here, on the ecosystem, Cardano's not in the top five. And if we actually expand this, you'll see that Cardano's way down here at number 11, which is still not bad, but can't compare to Ethereum, Polkadot, and Solana. So you have like core commits versus ecosystem commits. Which is more important for price? I would actually think ecosystem commits is more important for price during a bull run. Core commits is more important if you have something wrong with a blockchain, like if your blockchain keeps going down or keeps getting jammed or something, then it's very, very important. Obviously, Ethereum is top for both right now. And of course, Ethereum core commits are going to be important because Ethereum is just too damn slow. And you can't really do anything, no matter how many projects you have, if you're really, really slow. And a lot of the Ethereum stuff is going to be like Polygon and stuff like that, layer two. So the core commits are more important if your blockchain has serious problems. But on the other hand, if your blockchain doesn't have serious problems, if it's not continuously going down, if it's not getting jammed all the time, the core commits, I think, are not quite as important as the ecosystem commits. Because as I've been saying for years and years, the ecosystem is what drives value, the DeFi, the TVL, and stuff like that. And you can see how much each project is developing its ecosystem. So which coins could actually pop? Polkadot actually has been underperforming, but it could actually pop very, very soon because it's number 3 in core commits and number 2 in GitHub commits, and in ecosystem commits. And right now, the ecosystem commits, yes, it's under Ethereum right now, of course, but like Ethereum is kind of like the big brother out there, and everyone's trying to catch up to Ethereum. The fact is, there's people like buying or developing a lot of applications on Polkadot. Now, Polkadot is a little bit different because everything works on parachains, and they're essentially just using Polkadot for the security. I think the tokenomics is very, very different from like the stuff on Solana, but still, even if they're doing the parachains, and I'm not really sure how many of the projects are actually DeFi. If you look at DeFi Llama, Polkadot's not too high on the list, but before, when people were developing a lot of these things for these protocols on the ecosystem, like with the other blockchains, like they eventually use the actual coin as one of the top pairs for DeFi trading, and that is a big driver of demand as well. Now, like I said, Polkadot and Cosmos, because they are parachains, they work a little different from like Solana, Cardano, etc. So they might not work the same way. But looking at both weekly GitHub commits for core and weekly GitHub commits for ecosystem, Polkadot does seem to be doing very, very well. Like I said, Cardano, we need more commits on the ecosystem. And I think when USDC actually comes in, I think that might actually be something that we actually really look at. Near, as you can see, is number 7, and Celo is number 5 on the ecosystem. So Celo and Near you want to look at as well. If you look at Celo and Near here, I'm not exactly sure what Celo and Near here is on the core eco commits. Like Near, I don't really see. Cello, Cello's number 12. So Cello's not one that's actually talked about all that much. We haven't talked about it much either. But that actually might be another gem because they're developing the ecosystem and they're developing the core. Not the core as much as the ecosystem, but I haven't seen too many people too concerned with Cello in terms of like how it's functioning. So the ecosystem commits are going to be more important, and they're higher on the ecosystem list than the core list, which is a good sign. Iota, Miota, has actually been popping up pretty high here on the overall list for the last year. And as you can see, like both the core team and the ecosystem team are actually doing a lot for Iota. So that might be one that you want to look at as well. Flow, I really like that. I think Flow is actually undervalued, but I'm not really sure when it's actually going to go up in terms of like price, because you can see Project Flow, it's 216 commits on the weekly GitHub score for core commits. So the thing is, like, you have to look very, very closely at this. You want coins that are both high on the core commits and the ecosystem commits as a whole. But I think, like, unless your coin's getting a lot of complaints about performance, all that stuff, the ecosystem commits actually do look more important to me. If you look at Flow here, it's pretty high on the ecosystem commits as well at 190. And you do actually need to keep track of, like, how long your coin actually like stays on these top lists. Like, I think Iota is actually going to do decently well on this bull run. They're doing a lot of commits lately. There's been a lot of updates for Iota. I think they were pretty much absent like last bull run. I mean, they were trying to get the Cordon side thing in, but I don't know if that ever happened. But they're actually positively building on the commit list. So I think like there's more and more developers, and the number of developers is very important as well. Obviously, you can see Ethereum has 1,094 developers. Polkadot has 440. Like Cardano actually has like 93 developers on this list, and this list does actually just keep on moving. So like, especially on the ecosystem thing, it's not only the number of commits, it's also the number of developers that are actually really, really important for this list. The more developers you have, the more of an ecosystem you actually have as well. You want a lot of developers developing new apps because they're going to be the ones trapping in that TVL as well. So like Cardano is obviously really good. But like when we were looking at we were looking at Cello a while ago, that might have some potential. Iota definitely, Flow definitely, and of course like stuff like Solana will always be there. ICP is also coming up. If you look at ICP, 91 developers, but they're number 4 on this list, and they're also number 4 on this list. So like those are the things that you actually need to look for in terms of ecosystem and which one has the biggest ecosystem. This is more of a long-term view of like what's going on in the entire year. So if you see like coins that are high on this list but are still high on the weekly list, especially on the ecosystem list, you definitely want to be in on that specific coin because I think that gives it the best chance in the bull run. Solana obviously is doing other stuff with their phone. So, that's like another like marketing thing altogether, and that's going to get a lot of people on Solana. But stuff like Cardano, ICP, Flow, and others, like those are 3 that you really need to look at because they're actually really high on the list. And of course like Cardano as well. So like Cardano, Flow, ICP, and Iota are 4 that you actually need to look at. Some you might know, some you might not know. And like Polkadot, keep an eye on as well because it's been really, really high on the list lately. I think this just updated like while I was actually doing this video. So like the ecosystem did actually the ecosystem numbers did actually just update while I was doing this video. So yeah, it might be a little bit disjarring, but like the last week's numbers are actually good as well. But still, like Flow, Cardano, Iota, ICP, definitely ones that you should look at in the future. They are climbing up the list, and they've been on the list for a while right now. Some of the layer 2s like ARB is doing really well as well. And of course, Solana did have a big surge where they did do a lot of development leading up to their pump. So I think these guys that are actually doing a lot of development, they have the potential to really, really pump during the bull run. Of course, you have to look at liquidity and like, how many transactions are processing through. But the more developers you have, the more hype a coin will actually have. And as you can see for Iota, it's really, really rising up the list. Plus 133, plus 133, plus 189, plus 45. So it's actually gaining more and more developers. So even though Iota disappointed us in the last bull run, it might have actually found new life in this particular bull run. I mean, you can look at the other ones like Osmosis because it's on the yearly list and also on the weekly list. So like you have to mix and match these lists to see like which ones are actually having the most development, which ones are having the most activity to determine what you actually invest in. And this is one if you're just investing on the ecosystem, not so much the hype. Some of the top 10 coins really aren't on here. Like Solana is like at number 15, still has some activity, but Solana with this like phone stuff is a little bit different. Hedera is also on here at number 14, and that's like pretty high relative to where it is in the market cap. AVAX, almost the same where it is in the market cap, SushiSwap, stuff like that, Aptos. All these actually have development activity. Even LoonC has some development activity in terms of commits. You have XRP all the way down here at 57, but that's not really surprising. I don't think they changed the ledger all that much. And the thing is, like, XRP doesn't have smart contracts or AMMs, so there's not that many developers on it. There's like Wheats, and I don't really know who else is on there. I don't know if they count Shahu development as XRP development. I think they do because it is on the ledger. But as you can see, there's not actually a lot, for where it is in market cap, there's actually not a lot of development activity on XRP because of the lack of features. And that's why I've actually said multiple times, like, I think there are other projects that are way better for investment. But yeah, match like this column, and this column, and see like which coins are higher, especially on the ecosystem front. I've mentioned a couple of gems that could pop off, and I think this is a pretty decent investment guide, like just looking at these graphs and activity about what can actually blow up the most in the next bull run. If you see a really small coin, like, outside the top 200, really, really surge up very quickly on these charts, that could be like one of the gems, and you probably want to put a couple $100 in it and see if it really pops off. So that's the news for today. Let me know what you think. Like and subscribe, hit that bell notifications button. Thank you and have a nice day.